Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Town Square Tableau. I'm Vin Ebenau here with the WOBM Newsroom and the Shore Sports Network here talking to Nico Steriti, a former running back at Toms River High School East and a teammate of mine, on high school sports, what was, what is now, and kind of diving into a couple different issues that are affecting maybe high school athletes today and yesterday. So Nico, welcome back to the Toms River Ocean County area. And do you miss playing football, high school football specifically?
Of course. You got so much tradition, so much family, and so much pride. So, high school sports, I would say, developed the foundation for myself.
I mean, I know it, but I mean, a lot of people out there still know some of the stuff you did back in high school, on the field. I know senior year, I think it was like 28 touchdowns and I think 1,600 yards or something like that. And you ended up breaking a couple records, I believe, right?
Sure, I guess so.
But, I mean, going from that, did you envision yourself having a big long-term career going into high school or following high school? Where did you think your football career would take you, and where has it taken you now?
As a child, I envisioned playing football my whole life, so I guess that's where it started. Family, brothers, support, seeing others do it, striving for it, working for it until it happened, and that's really all I can give the credit to, was just a mental approach I took from a young age. Having two older brothers who were exceptional in the sport and exceptional as athletes. We created competitive walls in home, but at the end of the day, we were always taught to just play as hard as we could, and to leave it all out there, and give my mom a hug and a kiss after the game, and my father, and that was really, after all of it, I would say the most special part of it. But yeah, I would say just the tradition, the pride, and the family that comes with it is what I most miss about high school football.
I mean, you guys played with Mario in high school too. How special was that to be able to play with your younger brother on a team that was that good, and with him being really good as well?
Yeah, unbelievable. It's amazing to be able to play with my younger brother first and foremost, but then to excel on the field with him, and for him to put his body on the line, being a smaller guy, blocking for his older brother, it's something, someone can write, so it's a cool thing. And the coolest part about it was everyone buying in to it, my younger brother, exceptional athlete, kid could score touchdowns, and so could a lot of other kids. But during those times, we had a certain approach to things, and everyone did their part, and we all ate. So we were all pretty full after that.
And of course, the night before, those pasta dinners too, the night before the game. What do you think was it about that team that made it so great and so special? I mean, the closeness of it, and getting within, maybe a few minutes of getting to the state sectional during the 2009, your senior season, my senior season.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's people like you, people like myself. You were a kid who was at practice every day, did the reps you had to do as hard as you could, and on Fridays you were announcing games, so you didn't get to go under the lights, but the energy you put into it, and the energy others put into it, was a type of momentum that was fun to believe in. And I think that's what drove us back then, because we didn't have Division I athletes all over the field. We didn't have Nick Saban coaching us, so it was just a bunch of high school kids who grew up together, who believed in each other, who played with each other since they were young, and just believed in their own worth, opposed to, parents, coaches, external people. At the end of the day, who's in the huddle? So, we were in the huddle, we were in the weight room, we went to the beach together, we did a lot of things together that created a bond that was hard to break.
You were able to do some things on the field as well as some of the other guys back then that, you know, were really great and helped the team win too. But did you ever sense, I mean, Toms River North was another powerhouse back then at the same time, and Toms River South was, you know, good. And as were a lot of other teams. Lacey was really good, Southern Regional, and a lot of other teams. Did you ever get that inspiration to perform at a higher level against in rivalry games, especially, or teams that you knew were maybe as good or better?
A performer always wants to show up on the stage, you know, always wants to hear the audience clapping. But rivalries, if we're going to talk about rivalries, you know, there's a deeper root of rivalries. There's a past from rivalries, and that past doesn't go away. So, you know, you have ex-players and ex-coaches who were in games and situations and other times that there's still an emotional connection from it. So when you become a player into those games, you're stepping into a pool of energy, of a pool of just ways of handling, if that makes any sense. So being an athlete and being in Toms River and, you know, having 3 high schools and the competitiveness in all different ways, you know, you grow up playing different leagues of baseball, different leagues of basketball, and then you get older and you start knowing the other athletes on the other teams. And growing up, watching my older brothers do it, they took the most pride in their school and in their team opposed to themselves. You know, or today, you know, there's a lot of athletes that may jump around, you know, pick a school, choose a school, open their minds to it, which I think is awesome. But the drive to win and the drive to compete as a team, I think has dwindled a little. But I think that's the coaches' jobs. They get paid, right?
The coach's job to help the team prepare for the game each week. Being a part of a lot of those rivalry games, you know, every game, I mean, a lot of student fan sections seem to become really popular. You know, I guess back when we were in high school, with a bunch of different schools. I know our buddy Stevie, you know, led the Raider Nation chants every week. I mean, on the field when you were, you know, running the ball or on the sidelines, whatever, how much of a factor do you think that the fan section for East, or, you know, fan sections in general, can play a part in how a team performs or how a player performs? And did you hear any of that while you were on the field running? You know, did you hear the noise from the crowd?
Yeah, I think it's a direct reflection of the game. You know, you learn from all different coaches, obviously. In college, you know, our coach taught us to win the battle of the body, win the battle of the mind, and win the battle of the spirit of the fight. And you know, the mind's very interesting. So when you enter unfamiliar grounds and you got a bunch of people there that are rooting for that ground, it creates an energy that's not comfortable. So, you know, the good coaches put the players in the chaos, make them learn how to practice in the chaos. So you can supplement it all different ways. I remember in college, you know, we played North Dakota State, so that was an interesting stadium to be in, very loud. So when we practiced, we had loudspeakers behind the huddle with loud music. Now, did it supplement the truth of what we experienced that day? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But the effort of striving, you know, the awareness that despite your practicing, despite your skills, there's a external field you have to deal with, and can you handle that? So I think that's key, is to handle the mind, which is your own mind. You know, doing disciplined stuff every single day for the athletes, competitions, winning, losing, learning how to win, learning how to lose, and just having the disciplined mind to build the right body to win. And that's kind of what we did in college and in high school. You know, obviously anywhere you go, you got fan base supporting you, your parents, your siblings. But when the school comes together and the students come together, it's cool because you have one side where a student's on the field representing the school and his teammates and his players and whatever you want to say, his schoolmates. And on the other side, you have the students in the stands rooting for the player, but the common goal is the same. They're all just trying to have a good time. They're all just trying to win and be happy and experience the moment kind of thing. So, you know, I think high school sports are fascinating, personally.
I mean, it's often said that, you know, there's something unique or special about playing high school sports necessarily than, you know, maybe playing college or professional. What do you think that difference might be, that the thing that separates playing high school sports, whether, you know, football, baseball, basketball, whatever, than it is maybe moving up and playing on that college level? Is it the exclusiveness of, you know, how many athletes can play college ball or how many athletes can, you know, play pro ball? You know, gets smaller as it moves forward. So what would you think, you know, you know, years ago when you were playing, or even today, what do you think there's that one special thing that, you know, differentiates between high school and college sports?
I would say honesty. The honesty. Kind of like a dog, you know? You see an honest dog, you just love the dog for being so honest. It doesn't care if you're mean to it, doesn't care about anything, it just is happy you're home. So I would say the honesty of high school athletes, you know, they're just kids with a big passion, strong passion for a game. And, you know, in life, people get older and lose passions for any reason. But the honesty in children and kids shows that truth, if that means anything. So between high school, college, and NFL, I would say honesty is the difference.
Where did you plan on going when you were playing football growing up? How far did you want to take your football career? Did you just want to get through college, or did you have plans to play in the NFL or the AFL or another pro league?
Yeah, in 1999, I was 8 years old, and I wrote down I wanted to play in the NFL and play with the greats, and you know, to learn from them, and because I got to watch them. I found the journal entry. I talked about Tiki Barber. I talked about all these legends that, as an 8-year-old, I wanted to be like. Mm-hmm. So it was in me from day one that's what I wanted to do. And anything else, any other plan B, any other egg in a different basket was just not my cup of tea. So I put everything into one, and you know, it transpired to now. So I have no regrets.
I know you had some injuries, especially in college, shoulder surgery. One I remember a couple of years ago. Did that put stop you from playing football again? That kind of put the nix in a pro football career for you, and what was your reaction to that kind of rash of injuries?
Sure, definitely. I would say mindfulness is what has brought me to now. In those kinds of sports, you're sacrificing your body, and that's something you need to accept. You gotta ice it, you gotta treat it, you gotta take care of it. There's a language the body speaks to yourself all the time. And if there's a message, for these young athletes, from an older dog, is to know your worth, know your value. Be mindful of your value and your worth. Be mindful of your body. I ignored a lot, obviously. You grow up tough, competitive, put a Band-Aid on it, And for most of the time, that's accurate, You gotta toughen up. You gotta have a strong mind and, persevere through things. But when the body's speaking a language that creates a headache, you gotta listen to it. So, in college, I got to deal with different kinds of injuries in high school on a, higher impact level. I had 2 shoulder operations, in high school I had a thumb operation, injections, cortisone injections, Toradol in college. These are injections that they administer, doctors, for the school, and for you to get back on the field. And when you're in it, you're not very mindful because you want to play, and you've been taught to play. And I'm not saying not to play, I'm saying just be mindful of what you're doing to your body. It's yours. It's not your mom's, not your dad's, it's not your coach's, it's not the band's, it's not the principal's body, it's your body. So be mindful. And you know, in college I wasn't very mindful of the body because I was so conditioned to beat it up. You know, it was just a part of the day. You know, it's something we've been doing our whole lives as athletes, but you know, once I I think I hit my redshirt junior season. Now by that time I had a full shoulder operation already my freshman year. So I just, you know, I had some thoughts come in my head. One game on the sidelines is, you know, is this what I want to do to myself after college? And it wasn't necessarily, do I want to play in the NFL or this or that, all the people I might let down, you know, all these thoughts that come into your head. But really, the letting down part was not listening to my mind, you know, because there's a reason for it. There's always a reason for it. So I heard that my junior year, and I progressed. I played, and I did my thing, and my senior season comes rolling around, and I experienced more injuries. You know, ankle sprain, stress fracture, torn labrum, cartilage damage, and I still said no. I still was on the field. You know, I did anything and everything I could because I couldn't accept the fact of injury and time and healing. You know, I had to be out there now. There's crowds out there, there's people. I want to go to the NFL. You know, all these things. Everything you've built up your whole life. But then, you know, life shows you a different mirror sometimes, and you got to try to look at it a little bit at least. And, you know, I had to go through my successive stages since then, obviously. But while in it, you know, having someone who has been in it to say, be mindful of your mind and body. I'm sure I heard it millions of times from other guest speakers. You don't listen because you're in it, you know. Mm-hmm. And when you're not in it, it's like, whoa, it's not necessarily should have done. I should have done this, not necessarily should have. I would say should is more of a past tense. It's more of a regret. You're holding on to something. I would say would, you know, would have, or could, or could have, you know, and, you know, all these different things you would and could have done and should have done, they are what they are. But what you do is what you do, and the results kind of work off of it. So, you know, I went through my injuries, and I had my surgeries, and, you know, I tried after college to pursue professionally, but I still wasn't healthy. I didn't give myself a healthy shot because I didn't listen to the root of it, if that makes any sense.
So going off of that, what would your advice be to some of the other high school athletes today that there is life, you know, beyond football, you know, after football, after baseball, basketball, high school? I mean, a lot of sports you don't necessarily have to try out. I mean, you can kind of walk on to it. College, you know, the numbers shrink with how many people are able to play college sports, and even more so to another extent, how many could play professionally. So with these kids today that have these goals of, I'm going to play in the NFL or Major League Baseball or professional, you know, wrestling or, you know, softball or something like that, how do you, you know, make sure that they focus, that, you know, to have a plan B, you know, to have, you know, another goal in mind should you, you know, get hurt or, you know, or something else happens where, you know, one day you're told you're not good enough to perform at that next level. So what would your piece of advice be to some of these high school athletes with big ambitions right now?
My advice would be to pursue it relentlessly with a balanced mind, body, and self. And, you know, just know that building boundaries to identify yourself with are just walls you're going to have to take down at some point. I built, you know, you could build up, I'm a football player, I'm a baseball player. You could build up all these different things of who you think you are, you know, but at the end of the day, you're much more than that. So, you know, so a lesson I had to go through was, you know, I was an athlete my whole life. I was a football player. So on an external circumstance, you got teachers, coaches, life, people you run into that may say things to you, you know, you're a knucklehead or you're just a dumb jock. And then you can feed that in your mind to where you're building up boundaries and you identify yourself with it. I'm Nico, the football player, right? Mm-hmm. And then there's a social wavelength of awareness. There's Nico, the football player, you know? Until Nico is done playing football, then who are you? And if there was something I would tell kids is that don't build boundaries to identify yourself with. You're boundless. And you're able to play a game. You're able to play a sport through choice. You know, I have a good friend in Colorado who has a younger brother in the hospital right now. 19-year-old kid. You know, he was born with his small intestine and his two main arteries piercing his small intestine. So he's been in the ICU for 8 months, nonstop, having operations and getting cut open. And it hit home for me because my younger brother had a lot of gastro operations. So it opened my eyes to ability. And, you know, if that kid's able to persevere through each moment of his life, you know, laying in a bed and 19 years old and sick, all these different things, you're able to be more than just a football player.
Now, I mean, what was your plan B? I mean, at what point did you think of another career, and what did you end up choosing to do after you left the University of New Hampshire, graduated, I should say?
Yeah, so, you know, my career dwindled down. I kind of went through my own kind of battles, mentally, physically, spiritually. You know, it's habits, you know. I was a habitual athlete, I would say. 17 years of strong wires in my mind, of comfort that I only knew and only saw. But now I kind of try to sit at the feet of my life and see what this world wants to unfold for me, and you at the same time. So after college, I went through my own stages, and I started journaling to connect my inner voice with my hand. And that's something I would suggest for these athletes to do, is to journal and write. And you know, I went from journaling to reading and meditating and traveling and seeing this whole vast experience. And you know, now I'm a poet. I write. I have a book coming out in November. It's called Love in Your Pockets Are Forever. You know, I write poetry, and I'm just here, just writing. That's all. So it just transpires the way it's supposed to. And you just gotta catch on for the ride, kind of thing. That's kind of what I've learned since then.
I want to close up with this. I mean, one of the questions. I mean, looking back at it now, I mean, I know it was like 8 years ago was the last season for football in high school. I mean, looking back, do you play, or even on college, do you play like the what if game? What if I didn't get hurt, or what if I did this instead of that, or do you look back and you know, with any sense of regret about maybe if you did this in a certain game, maybe the result would have been better, or that, or certain game where if the team did something? I know I was talking to Bob Batters with our Shore Sports Network, one of my coworkers there, about the Egg Harbor game the other day, the state sectional semifinals that we lost senior year to the Egg Harbor Township. Do you have any regrets about that game or the way that ended up going? I mean, outside of the loss?
I don't remember regrets. You know, it's interesting how full circle it plays. You know, you play a game and it could be a damp on you forever, right? You know, my redshirt junior year of college, we lost in North Dakota State, got our butts whooped. I got whacked out in the third quarter with a concussion. I was walking around the sidelines looking for my helmet to go back on the field. But we got whacked, and you know, 5 years later, no, not 5 years later, 4 years later now, I was living in Colorado, and I run into the head coach for North Dakota State, you know, serving his family food at a restaurant. I was the running back he prepared for, and I'm the server who has prepared his dish. So it just shows you how, you know, it comes full circle. There's always a reminder of it, you know, that it was what it was, kind of thing. You know, you win some, you lose some. You know, people think the sun rises and sets, it's just going. You know, you're just spinning away from it or towards it. Mm-hmm. So for me, I don't have a regret from playing, or you know, even after a game, I was never, I wish I did this or I could have done this, because I always knew there was a next snap. Always a next snap, and you know, the message of football is that if there's anything I learned from that sport, is the next snap in life, the next breath, the next moment, you know, because sometimes someone might drop a kick return and take a knee on the 2-yard line, then you're pinned on your heels, but you had a whole expectation of starting the drive on the 25, you know, so now you got to learn how to play on your heels. You're coming out of the end zone, what do we do? Mm-hmm. You know, you got to fight, you got to get out, kind of thing. So no regrets. The whole career was very storied and wonderful and beautiful, and met some awesome people, but we're just getting started.
Excellent. Nico, thank you for coming back and taking some time to relive some of the glory days, but also talk about your journey through playing high school sports and how important of a part it was in your life, and you know, how you could still look back on it and be proud of all the things you accomplished.
Nothing greater than a Raider, Vin. Nothing greater than a Raider.
Some of the other high schools around here may disagree.
They didn't beat me when we played. They didn't beat us, so they could say what they want. When we played, Egg Harbor's the only one that got us, so the short conference couldn't handle us. Even though we were ranked number 2 behind Matawan, and I played with you know, Jared Allison in college, who was the quarterback for them, and that's another fun thing, you know, for these athletes. You get to play with the athletes you once competed with and built up a wall against, you know. But it was a common conversation in the locker room that East would have whooped up on Matawan Huskies every day. We talk smack, and that's the fun of it. That's what makes it cool. That's what makes it everything it is, you know, because it doesn't matter the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4. These are just numbers. These are just, they don't end, you know. But what you get from it, you know, like this right now, speaking with you right now, that was the significance of football for me.
Appreciate you coming back and doing all this, Nico, and good luck with your book and everything else you got going for you right now.
Thanks, Vin. Appreciate it.
It's Nico Steriti. I'm Vin Ebenu from WOBM News and the Shore Sports Network. For more on this, head over to both of those websites.